What's going on, gamers? So we know that Sony announced that they are going to be killing physical games in 2028. But ever since that has happened, we have seen one of the biggest rages and breakouts in gaming history, rebelling against it. I mean, it's catastrophic. I've seen tons of mockeries from even places like Domino's, other companies that you would think would not say anything about gaming or coming out and kind of like making satire posts. GOG responds, the amount of feedback that has been catastrophic at levels that you wouldn't think. Imagine if you go and take a look at the PlayStation tweet, it's over 100 million views. That's how huge this thing has gotten. So Sony is definitely in trouble, and they have caused a ruckus that, like I said, you haven't seen in quite some time. It's one of the biggest events in gaming history where you're like, what do you mean by events? I'm like, I mean like drama, feedback, rage, just all types of things happening. And AGN is going to be covering a lot of salt, a lot of truths, a lot of things in this video that needs to be talked about. So become a member, leave a tip down below. Let's get into this. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let's start off with GOG. We all know GOG is awesome. If you guys don't know what GOG is, you know what CD Projekt is. They started basically a digital program on the PC market that allows you to own your games. Even if GOG deleted the game, you still own it. It's real digital ownership. It's not just a license fee. So they responded to PlayStation, right? Let's get into this. This gets interesting. The debate about digital ownership is more alive than ever. And the reason why we have to talk about digital ownership, because if Sony takes away your option for physical, not only could you not get physical discounts, but you don't get any options. And if they decide to delist something, it disappears. You see what I'm saying? Look at what they did with the movies and the other aspects inside of the PlayStation movie section. A lot of people were like bringing that up. So that's why it says the debate about digital ownership is more alive than ever. While Sony announces the end of physical discs, GOG stands firm and responds to them in a statement. They said, even if a game disappears from the GOG store, it never leaves your library, exactly as digital ownership should be. I 100% agree with them on this. I feel like if you're telling me to buy something and pay you digitally, that I paid you for it to be mine. And that if you were going to be honorable, no matter what, I should always have a way to access it in some sort of way. Right? That's what I think digital ownership means. But if I'm paying you for a license, then that's why when you go to something and something happens, it says you have to restore the license or something has happened here and there. You're not really so much owning it, but you're paying to use it as long as they allow you to use it, as long as it's up. So if they want to take it down and relaunch a remastered version and delete that old version, we've seen this happen before, and repackage it for $70 and that old version is gone, then you're kind of crap out of luck if this is your first time seeing it. You're going to have to pay for that aspect right there. If there was a physical copy on sale for $30, sometimes people like that option and luxury. And there's just a crowd that historically, when you think about gaming, like I told people since the 80s, 90s, everything was always going to pick it up and owning it. From the blowing the air out of the cartridge, 1992, 1993 gamer here, been gaming for like 34, 35 years. Yeah, I've been all around since NES days. There's a legacy to it that this is the way that it's made. This is the way that it has always been until the digital age came. You should never sacrifice that. There should always be a fighting for this, no matter what. And that's what I love about Nintendo. They're the only bastion left that gives you that. But not only do they give you that through a console, but they give you that through a medium of on the go. Mobile, you can't put nothing physical in there. On the Switch, I could put the physical thing that's in there is the thing that I put in the dock to go on my TV. I can do handheld digital. If you go buy a ROG Ally, if you go buy that future PlayStation handheld, if you go buy a Steam Deck, if you go buy a Steam Deck 2 in the future, let's just say, right? Anything in that realm, all of it does not have nothing physical to own. It's all digital with a license. Am I talking to you? You see what I'm saying? The only realm that exists in the video game world is in the Nintendo world. So GOG is like, yeah, I mean, if you're not in that, then this is the only other place you can get it. And they can have Nintendo exclusives. They can have PlayStation exclusives. They can't have Xbox exclusives. You have to have Windows to use Game Pass. You see what I'm saying? So you kind of realize certain monopolies here to force you into a renting aspect. Making it clear that buying digital should mean owning, not renting. Yeah, exactly. Exit says, from those who don't know, GOG is a store very similar to Steam, but with two golden rules that make it unique. When you buy a game, you download it directly to your computer. You can save the installation file on an external hard drive or a USB. If GOG were to go bankrupt or the game disappear from the store, you still have the installer and can play it for the rest of your life. Now, that is the biggest pro-consumer app I've seen in the PC world. On any PC, without internet and without asking anyone's permission, there's no DRM lockout. It's absolutely amazing. This is what people will want from Sony. That's not going to happen, though. It's the closest thing to having a physical disc. So this is one of the things that we have to start off talking about. Next, we have some other stuff going by here. This is by Game Nosh. He says, I'm talking to people. Sony is currently being inundated with emails and messages behind the scenes from smaller publishers and devs voicing their displeasure over the end of physical games. Guys, it's not only this, but there were certain PlayStation 5 games this generation that had over a 50% physical attach ratio. God of War Ragnarok had like a 70%, I was hearing, or something like that. I don't know if that's true, but I know some games had like 40, like Astrobot had like 47 to 50% attach ratio to physical. And it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? I know we still got to 2028, but it's like, that's something you need to think about. And it says, I'm actually kind of shocked just how much internal backlash there has been to this. Doubt it'll make a difference. This was apparently a decision made by the money man within the last 2 months. It is 100% influenced by component costs and manufacturing. AI is ruining everything again. Absolutely. But it's not only AI's influence, it is GTA 6's influence. Do you know how catastrophic the GTA 6 launch without physical disc is going to be? That is one of the biggest influences of all time. And who are they aligned with? Not Xbox, with PlayStation. You don't think they've been working together thinking about this for quite some time on top of the AI manufacturing costs? So Sony's adding all that up together, and they want to make that decision up to 2028. But the thing is, what if the market crashes and they still want to do it? This is where you realize, okay, you still got to 2028 though, Sony. This is not set in stone. You could say, I'm going to give you an optional disk drive for the PS6, and you could at least still allow third-party developers who still want to play that game to manufacture those discs. You can still allow backwards compatibility PlayStation 5, and all the way up to 2028, PlayStation 5 physical disc, and PlayStation 4. PlayStation 3, forget about it. They're not going to do it. They know nobody will buy a $1,000 plus PS6. That's not going to happen, though. Sony's not going to sell you a $1,000 PlayStation 6. I'm telling you right now. They're going to subsidize. Just not significantly. And we have to see how the market will be by that time. So yeah, they have calculated that the only way to make PlayStation 6 make business sense for them right now in terms of margins is to kill both the retail and resale market. Well, I want to ask you a question. Do you think that Rockstar's in trouble for money? You know how much money they made off of GTA 5? You know how much money they're going to make for GTA 6? They're still deciding to not do physical. Sony made more money than any generation in history. You can combine PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 4, and they've made more money. Yes, this market hurts you, but you still have made more than ever. It's just like I tell you the same thing. It's way worse in the Microsoft world, in the NVIDIA world, in the Micron, the Samsung, SK world. Definitely when it comes to Microsoft and NVIDIA being trillion-dollar market caps, they've made more money than ever in history, and they're sacrificing their hardware. NVIDIA cut back GPU costs, and they're still feeding more AI. Microsoft recently just canceled all that Xbox showcase build up. Like you thought that was going to be an epic showcase. You thought that it was a good showcase, but they killed all of that by all their recent news and negative news for the last 30 days. And then you see them coming in and investing $2.5 billion in a new AI company. And I was trying to tell people about that for a while. So yeah, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? I think these companies are fine no matter what. So yeah, they calculated the only way to make PlayStation 6 make sense is to kill both retail and resale market. Furthermore, they figure people are invested enough in the ecosystem that they're locked in it for life. The majority of people are. No matter what happens, most people are still going to buy PS6. I'm still getting one regardless because I'm not affected by physical like that. But I understand the importance of it and the legacy of it. I'm not the only one that thinks the way that I only think about digital. No, there's a huge physical crowd out there. So obviously we have to cover this in an intelligent manner, not from a narcissistic subjective manner. They fully expected a huge backlash and took it into account. but they think the anger won't amount to much in terms of real financial losses and are willing to take the PR hit. Of the 15% of the current PlayStation audience that buy physical, they expect only 2 to 3% of the people to not move over to fully digital upon being forced. So basically what they're saying right here is you can drop off that 2 to 3%, but the 12% that I'm going to gain is going to make me so much more money than the 15% digital, because digital is all money. So therefore you are null and void and I don't care. Right there is literally what that means. And you want to know what? That's exactly what's going to happen. Hopefully. I'm hoping that it doesn't. I hope it reverses course, but you guys can get what I mean. No, people are going to give in. You know what I mean? Hey, historically, look at history, man. Like, if you told me that if I was doing that, and I know from a business standpoint, I'm only losing 3%, so I have 12% going to digital, and now I have digital being 97% convert ratio, or 96%, am I making more money still? Even though this is one of the biggest outrages in gaming history, I'm still making more money and I still win. Yeah. The money saved by getting rid of the retailer cut and lost on the reseller market eclipses the 2-3%. You don't have to pay Walmart. You don't have to pay Target. You don't have to pay Best Buy. You don't have to pay Amazon. You don't have to pay GameStop, right? Because you're not sharing the physical cut with them. You don't have to pay for disc. You don't have to pay for the case. You don't have to pay for the shipping. You're getting all 100% profit. So therefore, it null and voids the 2 and 3%. Even if it was 5 or 6, 7%, it doesn't matter. You're still going to cut that back. See, they know this, right? So the only way for this to work is if so many people left and they had to get that back. So them eclipsing the 2 to 3% makes up for the loss of profit expected per PlayStation 6 sold. They will not sell it at a loss, but are willing to only make as little as $50 per unit. No, I think they could sell it at neutral. I think they even can take a negative $50 cut and get it down to probably $800 if it still costs $1,000 by then. Hopefully that goes down to $900 and you can get it down to like $750 or something. I'm hoping that would be the better, karma that would manifest for gamers and for consumers. They're already going to make as much money as they can regardless. They're always fine. So. But we get the idea of this. The only way they'd ever reverse this decision is if the 2 to 3% of the physical audience they expect to lose is instead around 8 to 10%. And that's what I was talking about before. And that's up to you guys. It's not up to them. Remember that. As much as I'd love to see everyone come together and somehow force their hand with a mass boycott, I doubt it will happen. Can't say I blame them. They have been wanting to kill physical since around 2020 and Microsoft since 2013, and PC Ben did it. The AI Rampocalypse has forced their hand. Yeah, no, it's forcing everybody's hand. This goes back to the PC market and who's supporting this? Nvidia and Microsoft. They're the biggest suppliers. Google too, but I wouldn't call them a PC company. So, I mean, we got our answer, right? I mean, this right here is deep and why it needs to be covered. Going down, Game Now says too, also, as much as I absolutely hate to admit it, I think they're right with their analysis. The casuals and the gun and ball gamers will accept the all digital future. Yeah, because they only have one game. They don't care. And people like me in the hardcore crowd are small enough that even if we all boycott PlayStation, unlikely, I understand he's just being realistic. Most likely people are going to just take it and keep going. It still makes more financial sense to lose us and have their digital monopoly Apple-style walled garden. At that point, only regulation like the kind of thing being pushed into Europe would stop them. Pretty much like if the FTC came in, the European Union and the Japanese government and stuff like that came in and says, you can't do this. We're going to combat you, right? Then, hey, now you're dealing with the law. And Sony's already being sued for monopolies right now, which they do monopolize. So I'll tell you, Steam was being sued last month a couple times. And before that, they both do it. Caleb says, Caleb says, I still find it baffling that they want to push for a full digital console. Microsoft did it with the Series S. We're going to get to some stats here in a second. When PlayStation Network is not even actually available in most countries. My old PlayStation Network account has a U.S. address because Venezuela still isn't available. And to not pay sales taxes, but that's another thing. This means I can't use a local payment method or PlayStation Network balance cards on the account. Now I can't change it to Italy if I wanted because they don't let you do that. And the actual solution is to LMO, just make a new account. Nintendo, as crappy as they can be, will let me do it just fine. Same with Microsoft. They don't just value the markets, it seems. They're going all in on people with lots of disposable income. It's a bit like what happens in Vegas. Poor is no longer welcome. Pretty much. Rich get richer, poor get poor. Here goes the stat that we're going to be talking about here. Here goes a data point here. Of the 93 million PlayStation 5 sold, which is probably at 94 million right now, maybe a little bit more, 82% were bought with physical, 18% digital. So you can imagine how many people have the disc drive. Right, it's a lot of people. That's why this rage is big. Now let's go to the Xbox world. 70% of people in the Xbox world are all digital. 30% have the Series X. But you don't have a choice when it comes to Series X, right? There was a PS5 digital, right? The thing with the Series X is that you're trying to go for more power, and you could still be fully digital because you're getting on Game Pass and cloud. So if you look in the Xbox world, they've been pushing and killing physical media for quite some time. They even tried it in the Xbox One era. Even if I had a Series X, I wasn't buying physical games. I was going on Game Pass, right? I was going on the cloud or something. Or I was using that account to go on PC where there's no physical. In the Xbox world, they've been trying to kill physical. But Sony doing it is more catastrophic because look at the 25 to 30 million versus that 93 million ratio. But not just the 93 million ratio, but also the ratio that was on there on PS4 too. The combined install base is way more massive. PlayStation is a lot bigger than Xbox worldwide. But if you look at the ratio in the Xbox world, they've been pushing all digital, no physical support, and renting services like Game Pass. And everybody was okay with it. They was okay with everything as an Xbox because they had nothing to do with owning a physical copy on one aspect. If I went on my mobile, I went on my PC, I went on my TV, I went on this and that. You see what I'm saying? Everything is an Xbox, man. What are you talking about? Nah, it's literally about seamless digital transitions. I'm just saying, that's why I say the Xbox fanboys just need to be quiet because they're all hypocrites. We already know that. They flip-flop 24/7. But this right here, though, is absolutely important. JP says, it's clear that they are fudging the data to twist it in a favor and be able to make the decision while hiding behind the data that does not match the current reality. Dude, what are you talking about? When the PlayStation 5 came out, Sony purposely made way more $500 PlayStation models. You couldn't even get the digital. It was limited. You're an idiot. Microsoft produced significantly more Series S models than the X so that they could try to get more sales. Everybody was buying the Series S because they couldn't afford the Series X. Even though people wanted a Series X, I got one, but there was less Series X's than S's because of the COVID aspect. That's not made up. This is actually like pretty damn accurate. So when you think about how much was manufactured over time, Sony manufactured on purpose the $500 PlayStation 5 disc drives. And there's a lot of people getting that were still all digital, even during the PS4 era, they were moving to that. It's just the way that it worked. And nobody twisted nothing. It's just an insecure Xbox fanboy. Nice try, though. Just saying, just speaking the truth here. I bought a PS5 with a disc drive. I've only bought one game in physical format. Another tidbit. That's what I'm saying. That's a lot of people are actually doing that because Sony gave you the numbers. You can go take a look at most of the PlayStation 5 sold, and it is the one with the disc drive. It's not made up. It's actually very true. So these numbers are literally telling us a lot here. Going down, we got even more things here. Nib says, in addition to PlayStation receiving insane backlash from consumers, they're now becoming a meme too. Companies are satirically, that's why I said the satire is actually pretty deep right now, mocking their physical announcement and gaining tens of thousands of likes doing so. Domino's did it too. Here goes one right here. That's what I'm saying. Okay, yeah, Domino's Pizza UK. Breaking news, official statement. In response to trends in the gaming industry, as of April 1st, 2027, Domino's UK will cease production of physical pizzas and shift to production of digital pizzas. Don't we know this is nowhere near the same? But it's still funny, though, because everybody is mocking this. Consumers will be able to download our full range of delicious pizza codes and, using the power of their imagination, enjoy them in an entirely virtual sense. That's absolutely hysterical. But, you know, the thing is, if you want to make it even more intellectual, you could have said you could only order pizzas through the cell phone digitally. We will only ship them and bring them to your door. You cannot physically come and pick up a pizza. I mean, that's kind of like, to me, the equality of doing that. But I love the satire, though. Respawn says, official statement. In response to trends in the gaming industry, as of April 1st, 2028, Respawn products will gradually cease production of physical chairs and shift to production of digital chairs only. New and existing customers will be able to download our entire catalog of premium chair codes. Imaginary comfort, assembly not required. That's absolutely hilarious. Then you got GameSir. GameSir will cease production of physical copies of controllers and shift to digital controllers. With the evolution of global consumer habits and the ongoing digital transformation with the gaming industry, GameSir officially announces that moving forward, we will fully cease the production of physical controllers. Following the transition, all new GameSir controllers will be available exclusively in a digital format via the GameSir official website and major retail channels. While our physical retail presence remains, when you open a box, you will receive a unique digital activation code rather than a physical controller. Once redeemed via the GameSir Cloud app, you will be able to control any game via quantum entanglement and pure imagination. No stick drift, no sticky buttons, and zero physical weight. Regarding the comprehensive digitalization, GameSir views this as a significant leap forward. We are confident in our new philosophy. True pro gamers don't need a controller in their hands. They need a controller in their souls. Thank you for your continued support as we transition into this beautifully empty-handed future. That's fucking hysterical, man. Oh my God, that's great. And then you got G Phil. Please read important updates. These are memes here. They're memeing Sony. To our community, in response to the gaming industry's continued shift towards digital ownership, G Phil will be discontinuing all physical tubs, cans, and stick packs effective April 1st, 2027. Moving forward, all flavors will be available exclusively as downloadable flavor files. Fans will be able to access our full catalog of the delicious digital flavors and imagine the same delicious taste, energy, and focus in a completely virtual format. No shaker required, no shipping delays, no powder on your desk, just pure cloud-based feel. This is absolutely hilarious. I love that. So yeah, we see a lot of stuff going on here. Guys, there's so much here to talk about. And then we have this right here too, showing things. Manufacturing a Switch cartridge costs between $12 and $15. A PlayStation 5 disc, about $6.50. Nintendo pays double or triple and still bets on physical format. And they're not the biggest third-party idol vampire in the industry. Sony is. Nintendo works harder than any other gaming company. And they simultaneously have supported first-party handheld and console for over 35 years in a row or something, while never, ever abandoning any year with dropping a lot of games consistently and leading and winning that way. It's absolutely amazing. They were never relying off of third-party. This company is something else. And even still to this day, though they have now more third-party support than ever, they have to pay more for carts, and they still give you the game key card option outside of that that people complain about. It's nowhere near as close as this going right here, which I think people blew that out of proportion. You see the aspect that Sony and Microsoft get, and you look how much more money Microsoft has more than all of them, and how much more money PlayStation has, and then you wonder, scratching your head, how is it that you pay $6.50 and they pay $12 to $15 and you're doing this, but you support the biggest third-party platform in the industry? And the industry's biggest overall growth is third party outside of the Nintendo sphere and in general. That's something to think about. Nintendo. Calm down, because Nintendo doesn't fit the whole game in the cartridges, but that doesn't mean we should back Nintendo on this either. The three companies are just a bunch of cheats out to maximize their profits, like all of them. Either we boycott these moves or we lose. The funny thing is that this guy is saying is he's kind of being a moron, because Nintendo is also selling you digital $10 cheaper. Why isn't Sony doing that? Or Microsoft? And why they're still backing up physical and giving third-party developers who were doing that, because they were doing that on other platforms with a code in the box, giving them an option to still be able to trade. If you can't see that that's more pro-consumer, and only did a $50 price increase, but you look at these companies that would have $250 to $300 price increases the entire generation, then to me, you are a moron. I can't take you serious. So there we have it, guys. A lot of stuff is covered here. It gets very interesting, doesn't it? Like I said, if you go over to the PlayStation page where they had this meltdown, 101 million views now. It's right here. When Seal examined game says, then stop selling digital games for the same price as physical ones too. You're removing the printing box and shipping prices from the equation completely. So I shouldn't be paying $70 for digital games anymore. Nintendo combated this. Did they not? They did. And this is what I'm talking about. But nobody else has done it but them. This has 2.6 million views. Just saying. Fun fact, digital games are more expensive than physical copies. For example, today Neo 3 on Game Store is $70, while on Amazon is $45. This is what we were talking about before. You'll get more discounts on physical, a lot more, because you can actually get cuts from manufacturers. But there is sometimes some amazing digital sales, and Sony does that a lot. They're just like Steam now. Nintendo's got that medium going as well. But you still should always have that option there no matter what. Just give people the option. That's all I'm saying. So become a member, leave a tip down below. Like, comment, subscribe. It's only $3 to become a member. Let me know what you guys think. As usual, keep on gaming no matter what platform you're on. And remember, this event is catastrophic. One of the biggest boycotts in gaming history. I wonder if this is really going to affect the PS6 launch. Some people are saying it's going to blow over and everything's going to be fine. That's why Sony did it now and not before that. You never know, guys. With the way this world works, people give in. Later.